Welcome to the Legendary Backlog, your home of gaming news for all aspects of gaming from retro to current gen. We got you covered. This is episode 3. I am Bryan, and you can find me at Mario and Bryan on X. If you listen to the show and you like it, please follow us on Patreon. It's free and will give you access to all of our site. We're trying to build a community of people that love games. My partner is also Bryan. Bryan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Bryan, and you can reach me at Nostalgic Pixel on X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel at Nostalgic Pixel and a Twitch channel, Nostalgic Pixel TV. And lastly, I have a website where I post articles on nostalgicpixel.com.
Why don't we go ahead and talk about our weeks, Bryan? What have you been up to?
Well, it's pretty good. We had a holiday week come up, and I had some guests in town, and so I've just kind of been entertaining them. And fortunately, they're not the big time video game players, so I haven't been playing video games with them much, but we've been watching different shows and movies, and that's been fun. And hanging out with my sister, she also lives in town, so it was me, my mom, my sister. It was a pretty good week.
Did you watch anything notable?
Well, I watched an older movie from 1968 called The Swimmer with Burt Lancaster. I've seen it before, and I wanted to show it to my mom, and surprisingly enough, even though it had such a short release window in the theaters, and at the time the reception wasn't very great, although it's a really good movie, she actually had some memory of remembering and seeing that movie. Yeah, it's called The Swimmer. It's 1968. The premise is pretty simple. This guy decides he's in this like upstate New York neighborhood, and he's decided that like all his neighbors have pools and that he could just swim into each of their pools on his walk home, which is like 8 miles or so. So his goal from the get-go is he's going to swim in all the neighbors' pools on the way home as he walks home. And then the rest of the story kind of unfolds there. It's good. It's a real thinking game movie, and it's nice. It's kind of like you start off just, the movie just kind of throws you in, and then every time he goes and visits a different neighbor, you kind of learn a little bit more about the character until the end. You kind of feel like you know the whole story, which is really good. It's kind of slowly unravels.
That's good to hear. I'm glad you liked it. Well, I'll have to check it out sometime. I've heard about that movie before. It seems like he just swims through people's backyards, like trying to go home, right?
Yeah, the movie, he hits up about 10 different pools along the way. Yeah, I think I remember telling you about it. But how's your week been?
My week's been pretty good. It's been pretty busy. Done a lot of work on the podcast. I went to see some family this weekend. It was really fun. Got to see some people I normally don't get to see very often. It was nice. And I got to see one of my nephews has a kid now, and I got to see her. So that was really cool. I'm just seeing the family expand. So that was really nice. Mm-hmm. Why don't we go ahead and get into what we've been playing?
Okay, sure. I'll go first. And this is kind of a short list. Like I mentioned, I have a company in town, and unfortunately, my mom she's not much into video games. I always like to take her to the local arcade where they have a bunch of pinball machines, and she's all over that. But to convince her to sit down with a controller is pretty tough. I've found out other games, though, certain like quiz games like Fibbage, she's been enjoyed and stuff. That's a real fun game, especially if you have a lot of people to play with. But mostly, like, since company in town, I've been kind of portable gaming it. I have my Mio Mini, and it's come in really handy when we've gone around different places. Like the other day, we went to Nordstrom's, and I just kind of sat in a corner somewhere and was playing on my little handheld here, like my Mio Mini here. And again, like to play every week is California Games on the Atari Lynx surfing. And you know what? It's been interesting lately. I haven't been playing for as long as stretches, but I have been hitting it pretty hard, like right off the bat, in that I'm reaching like 3,000 points in the score, which is like half of what my high scores are in the 6,000s. But getting 3,000, you're doing a lot of things right. You're pulling off a lot of quadruple 360s and stuff, and it's fun. And again, like I was saying the other week, I was playing on the Analog Pocket, and a new core got released for the IRIM. I think it's the 72 IRIM, which is like the late 80s. And the games I've been playing on that is like R-Type, the original R-Type, which is like a spaceship shoot 'em up, which is a lot of fun. And since it's the arcade version, it's like arcade perfect, and that's a lot of fun. I really like using like my arcade stick that has turbo switches, so it's easier on my fingers. So I'm not like pressing the shoot button as fast as possible as I've gotten older. That wears out for me pretty fast. And games that I have to press as fast as I can, well, I can press really fast. It's the longevity of doing that, keeping that going dies off. But the turbo makes it perfect.
Why don't you go ahead and explain to everybody what cores are?
Oh, okay. So I'm playing on my Analog Pocket, which That type of handheld uses FPGA, which is a field programmable gate array, which basically it emulates the hardware. It emulates the systems at a hardware level instead of just making it compatible to play the software. So basically it programs the chip on the handheld to basically function exactly like the chip that was either in the arcade machine or handheld like a Game Boy or Super Nintendo. And so there have been people that have been out there releasing what they call cores, which is kind of like an emulator, but it's the core, it's the system. So they've gone and done their engineering on all that. Oftentimes, like these developers of these cores have Patreon accounts where they have people subscribe, and the subscriptions fund their research in creating these cores. And at first they're in a beta, and if you subscribe to their Patreon, you get access to their beta. But once the core is out of beta, they release it to the public, and that's where I come in, and then I can update it and play it. So it's like an emulator, but it's a very accurate emulator at a hardware level. So it's a lot of fun to play that.
Right. So it's not emulation; it's using the hardware to act like the real machine, right?
It's hardware emulation. It's not software emulation. So it's a different kind, but the difference is accuracy, and that it's trying really hard, and that it recreates the way that the hardware functions at a hardware level. So ideally, if you have a very accurate FPGA core for that system, then it'll treat everything you throw at it, even if the game is like notoriously has slow motion or slow-mo parts in it or any kind of thing. That kind of will still be there. It won't be like, oh, you've got a faster computer and it's emulating, but all that slow motion is going to go away or whatever. It's not going to like play games that were going down in frame rate in a higher frame rate. It's very if it dips, and it's notorious for dipping, you're going to see that same everything. Now, some of them, every once in a while, some developers will add nice features that people are used to with emulators, like save states and stuff, but that's not entirely common. And for me, like, save states are nice. I'm too old school in that, like, I haven't gotten to the point where I kind of rely on those features. They're nice, but again, these are arcade games, and as you and I have talked before, the fun part I like about the arcade games is I can play that game for like 5 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever. Like there can be short and they can be long, and it's just basically up to me on the amount of time I either have available or want to play that game at one point.
That kind of reminds me of something that I was thinking about this week, because I was thinking about how video games used to be back in the day, like in the late 80s, early 90s. The goal of a video game console would be to get like the arcade at home, and the arcades have like not really kept up, and now console gamings are completely different. But I was just thinking about how we've done that transition from shorter experiences from the arcade that came to home to where like now we have all these 100-hour games and, long stories and all this. And yeah, I think that's something that I thank God for indies, because they're keeping that scene alive. But yeah, that's something I was thinking about today, is that transition we made.
Oh yeah. And one thing it's nice about indies and video games is that because of the nature of the beast, and that they can have these really small development teams, and their main focus is largely gameplay as well. I mean, there's an aesthetic to it as well, but it's largely focuses on fun mechanics and gameplay. And also just like it's like an auteur, like cinema situation where they can really tell this very personal story that you wouldn't get like on a huge game, it makes unique experiences. And again, they don't have to be 100-hour experiences. They can be much shorter if they want. And that's nice.
Yeah. I think nowadays a lot of people view like the amount of content in a game as like part of the value of purchasing. That's like to be debatable, but that's something that a lot of people think about, especially if they buy fewer games in a year.
Oh, sure.
I noticed the people who buy fewer games a year, they want like a big, something they can play for like 3 months or something, or 6 months. If you buy a lot of games, you're probably looking for more of that like arcade experience, something that you can just pick up and put down.
Oh, absolutely. I understand. And like for example, I have a friend of mine too. He doesn't play video games much, and even when I talk about growing up, like his experience, he wasn't, even though he had older brothers and sisters and stuff, like, and big family, like apparently they didn't play a lot of video games growing up. So he and I can't talk to him about the NES and Super Nintendo. But now, like, he's got the Switch for his children and stuff and games. So, he often comes to me and asks me about games. And so he's heard enough to know like what Zelda is, and he's heard of it and stuff. So when he talked to me about what Zelda game to get, and I was telling him, well, you got this game Breath of the Wild that you can spend 100 hours or plus into it. And then you have games like Zelda Link's Awakening, the HD remaster, which is just kind of as a remaster of a Game Boy game, a handheld game. And while it is nowhere near 100-hour experience, it's 8 hours at most or whatever, it's still a lot of fun. And even though the prices are the same, like I was trying to explain to him, like, even though there's these two games, one is like 80 hours and another one's like 8 hours, and they're both the same price, you don't have to base your games 100% on total gameplay time, right? Because even if it's shorter, sometimes it's even fun to replay, like gameplay itself. I can understand, like he's looking at it too, but like, as if I get this game for my kids, how long would they be interested in it? So a game that seems to be amazing for kids is Animal Crossing. It's like, talk about a time sink. It seems like people can play that year round with all the rewards and unlocks that they have.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people got into Animal Crossing. My wife got into it. My sister got into it. Both my kids got into it. I got into it for a little bit, but I can't. It's just collecting stuff. Can't do it forever. But the game is fun. It's phenomenal. But basically what I was thinking about is how he made his decision based on the hours of play. But, like if you don't use a guide and you hand a kid like Zelda Link's Awakening, that could easily be like 20, 25 hours if you don't know what to do.
Oh, you can spend forever trying to figure out some of those questionable things. And when I was so like, even though I had handhelds and video games as a kid, there's one system, surprisingly, I didn't grow up with, which was the original Game Boy. Even though I wanted one when it came out, I ended up getting an Atari Lynx and then a Game Gear. And then after that, I didn't really have handhelds until later the Game Boy Advance came out. So like Link's Awakening, like I had friends that showed it to me and I played a little bit of it, but that's a game you can't just play like 10 or 15 minutes of it. That's the game you want to play from the beginning to the end. So while it was and I have since before the Switch version came out, I had since played like most of the Game Boy of that version of it. But like, yeah, that game is so cryptic that like, yeah, when I had no problem looking stuff up if I ever felt frustrated at a point where in trying to figuring things out and to move forward. I had no problem looking it up. And I was talking to my friend that I was telling you about, like he ended up getting Breath of the Wild, with no surprise. But at the same time, I had also suggested that, hey, it's no harm in playing that game and having your laptop up with like an interactive map for anything. If you ever feel like you're getting lost or you're losing direction or trying to figure out what you want to do or where to go, the good news is today with the internet and everything, the guides aren't like, they're a way to help you progress and keep you interested and just moving forward in the game and not getting frustrated like it was back in the day. Like back in the day when we got stuck in a game, we were hoping we were going to read it in the next month's Nintendo Power. They're going to tell us, or we're going to go to school and talk to friends and say, hey, did you ever come across this and this part? And what did you do to kind of figure it out?
I don't know about you, but back in the day, whenever I got stuck, it was just like we were stuck.
Yeah, but did you talk to friends at school?
Yeah, I talked to friends at school, but we all got stuck on the same part. I remember Xenogears, right? We all got stuck on the same part in Disc 2, or right before Disc 2.
And then you're hoping for like an episode of like a magazine at EGM to cover it, to like tell you?
I didn't. The internet was out, but GameFAQs and all that wasn't really developed too much yet.
Oh, no, yeah.
During that time. Like sometimes there'd be a guide or there would be a guide that someone started, but it wouldn't be complete. That was the problem with Xenogears back then. I bet you there's like 15 guides now.
Yeah, and I can imagine, though, like you said, that a bunch of guides that don't go through the whole game, they might go through the first 15 hours of the game or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Back then, that was the case. Even sometimes, the funniest thing I remember, I was playing through Castlevania Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation, and I'd gotten to the inverted castle. And there was a few things, and at that point, there was a few websites that gave some information. Guides, while they still are a thing, they were definitely a thing then. And I went and I picked up one. I was at the store. I didn't buy it yet. I was looking through it to see if it talked about the inverted castle. And I was just stunned to see that they published this guide for Castlevania. And it stopped like halfway through the game, thinking that the bad ending was the end of the game and there wasn't a whole other half of the game left, and it had no idea what the inverted castle was. And because it was so uninformative, I didn't buy it. But man, I really wish I would love to have it now. Just talk about, oh yeah, you kill Richter Belmont and the game's over. Like, oh boy. But that's just so, I couldn't believe that was such an oversight. But yeah, that's kind of the way it was.
I beat the game in like 6 months later. I found out about the inverted castle. So I was really happy because
Oh, wow. So you just played it straight, killed Richter and thought you were done. And then 6 months later found out that there was more.
It wasn't just me. It was like a whole group of people that all played that game. Because I remember it being one of the, I don't remember what they called, like player select or something, or the green case where they were like player choices or whatever, like $20 games. So like me and my friends had all had that game and we thought it was amazing. And then all of a sudden we read that there's like an upside down castle. We were like, what are we talking about? And it turns out that like all of us were missing like the same like 8% of the map. And we ended up having to get misform and go do that or something like that. And then we were able to beat the boss and go to the upside down castle. So that was, I mean, that's just the way games used to be. I mean, the internet's made it so great because like anything you need to do in a video game, there's a YouTube video of, you know?
Yeah, much less just a guide, but yeah, you can watch a video.
Yeah, I a lot of times when I get stuck in a game, I just go to YouTube and I just like, you know, talk to the mic and on the PlayStation 5 and tell it what game I'm playing and what I'm stuck at, and usually a video just pops right up.
Yeah, especially like I was telling my friend about with Zelda, it's like, hey, if you get stuck, you know, you can always just look it up online and you'll probably find video tutorials on how to locate a shrine or anything, because like you can read about how to find a shrine, but it's a lot quicker just to watch a short video on how to locate some of those harder to locate ones.
Yeah, but there is a like certain feeling you get when you do it yourself without a guide.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the kind of way I feel about it. I like to, I don't use, like, I don't walk step by step through a guide, but I play the game until I get stuck, and then I keep playing until there's a point where there's a level of frustration that reaches to a point. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to look it up. But I do like to try to figure it out myself. And then also I like, once I get past whatever stuck point, I go, you know, I stop following the guide and go back into the game until I feel like, again, I get to a level of frustration in trying to solve the puzzle or problem. But before I get too frustrated, I don't want to play the game anymore. I generally like to look it up. But I definitely like to give myself a chance to figure it out.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, getting those shrines in the underground, those were such a pain, man. It was just like pitch black. You're shooting those seeds everywhere, and like all of a sudden you just fall off a cliff and you die, and you got to go try it again. I ended up getting all the shrines. Some of them I had to look up guides, but when I didn't have to look up guides and I made it like through all this weird, mysterious stuff down there, it felt pretty good. And guides don't take away all that feeling, but they basically help you advance the game and not be frustrated, like you said, which is what the developers want, because they want you to play and see the whole game. They don't want you stuck forever getting frustrated, putting it down and pick up another game. Yeah. So speaking of games, let's talk about a little bit what I've been playing. This week I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm really enjoying that game. I sunk a lot of hours into it this week, and I can say without any spoilers, I'm on the last chapter. Don't really want to say where I'm at in the game in case other people have it on their backlog like I have it on mine. It's a really great game, really great art style. The art is just amazing in that game. I mean, you could tell Square Enix is not shipping out artwork to any other companies, you know, like sub companies or third parties.
They're all doing it in house.
Yeah. That art is just amazing. And so I picked it up and I put it down for a while, and I've picked it back up because I was kind of getting towards the end, and I kind of wanted to savor it because I know the 3 is the third version isn't coming out for a while. But now it's time to clear it off my backlog.
And that's the last part, right? That's the finish of 7.
Yeah. And I really liked the combat the first time I went through, but going back to it after playing other games and stuff, I just think the combat is like the best combat that Square Enix has done. It's the perfect mix of like real-time action and like menu driven. You know, a lot of people really like Final Fantasy 16's combat, where you basically it feels more like an action game, but to me, that game, the combat was better than the story in Final Fantasy 16, but my favorite combat is really Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I'm really excited to see what they do with the evolution of that combat. The sad thing for me is that usually when a Square game gets a certain combat, even if it's like perfect or if it's like praise. The next RPG that comes out will be like, totally different. They never use the same combat, with the exception is with the Final Fantasy VII series, since they're doing 3 games, it's kind of like an evolution of that combat. So what they did in Rebirth is they did these things called synergies, and it's where your team members team up, and they take a while to build up, but when you do team up, it's awesome. It looks great. They deal tons of damage, or they do something defensive that's really great for your party. So it's really nice. But I got to the final chapter. I'm feeling good about that. I'm probably going to beat it either tomorrow or the next day. I'm really looking forward to the end of the story. I've so far kept spoiler free, so that's a good thing. So we'll see what happens. The other game that I've been playing this week is a game that you might not think that I would play. It's an RTS game. It's called Frostpunk. Have you ever heard of that game, Brian?
Frostpunk? No.
It's a really interesting game.
What's it on?
I'm playing on PC, but I know it's on Xbox, and I think it's on PlayStation as well, right? But it's an RTS game, so I really like the keyboard and mouse for it. But this is the premise, right? Is that everybody in the whole world just started snowing one day, right? I mean, snowing to the point where like humankind is like almost extinct, right? And somewhere up north, they've built this furnace, right? And this furnace can like burn through the cold, right? Even though it's like negative 20 degrees, this furnace can keep going. So basically, your job is to build a town around this while people are suffering. And I mean, it gets pretty dark.
You have to fight other teams, or is it just survival and thrive?
No, you're just fighting the elements. That's the weird part, right? Like other RTS games, it's kind of like you're going to take on another army. You're going to build your army up and take it on. This one it plays like an RTS, I should say. It's not a RTS game. But what's great about it is that you build these cities, and people are like, you're always in trouble in this game, right? Like nothing's ever just, at least in my experience, nothing's ever perfect, right? Like people are always hungry, people are always sick. Eventually they get to where they start dying on you, and like you're just so strapped for resources in this game. And I bet you there's ways to get unstrapped for resources. I just gotta like figure them out. It's crazy because like you'll go and you're like, people are like need food, right? So you have to build this thing called a hunt or something like that, right? And what they do is they hunt animals, right? And they make raw food. Then you have to build another thing that turns the raw food into meals, right? And by the time you do that, people start to get fed, but then now they're sick people. So you have to build like a medical, you know what I'm saying? It just keeps going in that cycle, right?
SimCity, but a lot more interactive.
Right. It's kind of like, it's kind of like SimCity, but it's a lot harsher, right? And this is what's crazy about it to me, is that they have this thing called the rule of law. So whenever you get in trouble, you're basically like a dictator to everybody. There's like no government or anything. You basically, everybody's going off your word. So like you can make a law to get yourself out of a lot of jams, but every law is like really bad, pretty much. A law, for example, would be like child labor law, like child labor. So children can work. So now you have more people working, so you get resources faster. Or like the other thing is like, we're not going to bury corpses, or we're not going to bury corpses in a cemetery. We're just going to dispose of them in the snow, right? Or like, you can extend people's work shifts and make their life hell and kill their morale. But there's like all these different things that you can do as far as making laws. They're really intricate to the game. I just figured out the research part of it, which I think is part of the reason why I've been struggling a little bit. I've only played it like, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours at this point. But I've had a lot of people tell me that I would really like this game. I've had like 6 people tell me that I really like this game. I saw it for sale on the Steam sale for $5.99 or $4.99. So I thought I'd just grab it and see what it's like. I ended up really liking it so far. Not sure how much I'm going to stick with it. It just seems like it seems like a game that's like endless, right? Like there is a story mode. I might try and beat that, but after that, there's just like this endless play where you can just build a city up and up. And I watched some YouTube videos, just try to get a little bit more clarity on the game, because the tutorials are nice, but they don't really explain everything like to detail. And, this one guy showed what a city looks like at the end whenever you beat the game or whatever, and or the levels. The city's just like huge, right? Like you start off with nothing, and this guy's got like crummier New York, but like, that's what it's like. It's just, you build this huge city. So it's a really interesting game. Man, those people can go through a lot. You just play until you beat the level, or you basically get strung out and killed. Like played one time that they ended up executing me. I played another time where they just basically made me walk off into the snow and die. So it's a pretty interesting game. It's a different outlook on a game. So I'm kind of enjoying the fresh take of it. Not sure how much is my cup of tea though, because it is that RTS style kind of play style, where you roam over the map and everything. So it's pretty cool though. I've been enjoying that. So that's kind of what I've been playing.
Oh, cool.
Do you want to get into the news of the week?
Sure. Let's look into a few of the articles of the news that happened over the week.
Nintendo Switch 2 finally gets a U.S. pre-order date. It's April 24th is the pre-order date. So the Switch 2 and Mario Kart bundle will stay the same price at $449 and $499 for the bundle. This Nintendo Switch accessories are going up to basically cover tariffs or whatever is going on economically. The stock market lost $1.5 trillion today, so we don't know what's really going on the long term. The Joy-Cons are gone up to $94.99, and the Pro Controller's gone up to $84.99. That sucks because I want to get several Pro Controllers.
The good news is it works with the same original Pro Controllers. It just doesn't have the extra button for the chat feature.
I don't need that.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to replace them all.
Yeah, I don't have to replace them all, which is good. Yeah, that's definitely good. And I wonder if the Joy-Cons by themselves are going to work on the Switch 2. Have they said anything about that?
I think, from my understanding from what I've read, is the Joy-Cons will work on games that they work on. And if there's any feature of the new Joy-Cons that the game utilizes, then those old Joy-Cons won't work. But if game doesn't require any new features of the newer Joy-Cons, then you can use your older Joy-Cons for additional controllers.
Okay.
But they obviously don't slide in or anything, so that you can't hook them up. They just be player 2 and 3 or 4 or whatever. So those can be used for controllers as long as the game doesn't require a feature that the new controller would utilize.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, just to have 4-player again, real easy without buying 4 Pro Controllers again.
Yeah, kind of like when the Wii U came out and a lot of the games still allowed to use the Wiimotes for controllers. And sometimes it required them, but it just lets you kind of use your existing controllers for additional controllers, which is good. But especially what I read about the Pro Controller could be used as additional controller for the Switch 2. It just will minus the chat button feature or any other features that might be required.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm a Nintendo Online subscriber, and I'm not gonna be using the chat feature very much at all. That feature sounds great, but I wonder how much Nintendo's gonna monitor it, because in a closed environment, chat feature's great, right? But then if you play games like Call of Duty and stuff, which is gonna be on the Switch, it's just a bunch of degenerates just talking crap.
Well, it's less for me about the chatting and more like today, you and I could boot up our Switches and boot up Mario Kart, and I don't think we could invite each other to play a game with each other. There's just not that connection. But considering they're putting so much effort in chat on the Switch 2, that seems to be a very realistic possibility that, if we both had the Switch 2s and we both had Mario Kart World, and we could both get on our Switches, and I could invite you into my game, and you and I could play games in Mario Kart together, which isn't necessarily as clear and easy on the Switch.
Yeah, that's terrible on the Switch.
I can see my friends playing games, and I can see what games they've been playing, but I can't really invite them to any games on the Switch, and I can't join their game. And if I go online, I'm playing with strangers 99% of the time, and they only in the classics. So if you and I really wanted to play together, we both boot up the Switch app on our phones and we join each other, and then we could play NES games or Super Nintendo games together, where those games are 2-player. So where they had couch co-op, we can play it online. So the fact there's chat.
I understand what the chat button's for. I'm just not going to use it very much is what I'm saying.
Well, I don't think you and I would be video chatting or sharing screens as much on Switch, but the fact that you and I could easily play a game on Nintendo console together or against each other and not just only strangers, a welcome change and about time.
We'll see how it works when it comes out. If it's super easy, I'll give Nintendo credit. If it's worse than the PlayStation, which the PlayStation makes it semi-easy, I would say, it's not going to be acceptable. But if it's equal to the PlayStation or better, then I'll be totally down for it. And I'd probably use it more often in that case.
And I agree with you. At our age these days, it's not that, it's more logistics to get 3 other friends together to play a video game online at the same time than it is if we were in our 20s.
Yeah. And I mean, as a dad, my problem is that I game a lot, but the thing is that I don't really online game with, like, I have friends that play Call of Duty, right? And when I'm getting into Call of Duty, they'll always invite me into a game. But the thing is that what always happens to me is, like, you know, I'll play 2 games and everything's going good, we're having a good time, and then something comes up, I have to leave, you know? So, you know, that's the reason why I personally wouldn't use it very much, but I definitely see, I do play online games, but I did play online games that you can kind of jump in and out of, you know, unless it's like real late at night, which most people are in bed, but I'm gaming then.
Or unless you and I are trying to play a versus fighting game with each other.
Right.
We'll try to jump through every hoop we can to make that work.
And then the other thing is, since we're on the subject about online, right, what drives me crazy is these companies that, like the PlayStation, for example, has all the things worked out for you to be in a party, right? But then these companies like Activision, this is a good example. I don't know how many other people do it, but they have their own service, right? So it doesn't really matter if I'm in a PlayStation party or not. I have to group somebody inside with my Activision account. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear
so
you.
basically, it's like the PlayStation and the Xbox and everything have done all this, and the PC have all this set up so you can easily group with people. And then all of a sudden, it's like, they're like, nope, you know, just forget about that. You're going to have to use our thing. You're going to have to use, you know, our in-game feature to group up and hear people. And then there's all these settings for, like, if you want to hear friends only or not. And I don't like that third partiness. I really wish the console manufacturers would just, like, say you can't do that. But I know there's too much value in having that account and knowing what people do with that account. So nowadays we got an account for everything.
And one of the things that, like, I don't necessarily get online on a console with a group of friends and, like, join part, like, a 4 or 5 of them and play, like, online games as frequently. I like the ability to where I can get online and, like, get into a chat room with my friends, and we could all be playing different games and still, like, you know, chat with each other and see how, you know, how their day or week is gone or whatever. And then maybe we'll jump into a game together, but we don't all have to be playing the same game. It seems like the new system can do it, like on the PlayStation, is share play. Share play is huge, a big deal for me because, like, as you know, like, sometimes I'll buy all these different smaller games that not everyone is buying, and I don't have to go around and convince all my friends to go buy this game just so that I can play with them. So, for example, in the past, I picked up Guacamelee a while back, and I was playing it with friends of mine, but convincing a friend to go buy Guacamelee was a lot more of a challenge than just say, hey, why don't you continue playing with me in my game of Guacamelee? And I could throw them an invite, and they could play it without having to go buy their own copy. And then lately, you know, we've done games like, what was it, River City Girls, which has been fun.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up because that's basically how I use party system now in on the PlayStation, you know? Like, I do chat with people, but what I do is I get in a party and, like, I'm playing a solo RPG or something and they're playing, like, Fortnite or something or whatever's hot. Yeah, we just sit there and kind of talk, you know, and then we go through quiet parts where each one of us is gaming and then we talk, you know? So I use that a lot. So that might be something I would use on the Switch if it's easy. I hope they get rid of that whole friend code thing. That's just terrible.
Yeah, like I said, for the last 8 years, I've had friends that I've had since college. They're on my Nintendo friend thing, but, like, all I can do is, oh, look, he sunk 50 hours in this game, and he sunk 20 hours in this game. I can't send him a text message. I can't schedule a time to, like, for the two of us to play a game together. So I'm really looking forward to this.
I can tell. Speaking about Nintendo, let's move on to the next item. Nintendo has decided that Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 version won't support cloud save. The Switch 2 version has a disclaimer on it that says, please note this software does not support the Nintendo Switch Online paid membership save data cloud backup feature. What's your thoughts about that, Brian?
That sounds really backward. My understanding of the current setup, right, is I have my Nintendo Switch, I have Tears of the Kingdom, my Nintendo Switch Online account, and while, like, currently, from my understanding is I can't, like, I can't back up my game saves on my SD card and put it on my computer, but I can back up my game saves off of my Switch on the cloud, which is great because if for any reason say I lost my Switch or whatever, the game save being in the cloud or just being anywhere else, like in the cloud, is a good thing. But what you're saying is, for some reason, that this game, the Switch 2 version, won't allow cloud saves. That's like a whole feature of Nintendo's Switch Online.
Totally perplexed by this. I think this is Nintendo getting in Nintendo's way. Personally, I think they want people to not carry over their saves.
I thought that was the big argument. Oh, you can carry your save over like that. You can continue your game.
Evidently not.
Like, because they're also selling paid upgrades. So unless they offer like switch to switch transfer of game save without the cloud, I don't know how you're doing it. But considering now, how about this? So if Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch, the current version does support cloud saves. So because the current setup and the current Switch does support cloud saves, I guess if you own a Switch 2, you could download the Tears of the Kingdom Switch 1 version cloud save onto your Switch to continue playing it on your Switch 2 with the Switch 2 version, but going forward, it won't upload the newer versions of that save to the cloud. So I guess, and I remember they did make a point that you could continue your game, so I guess that's how you do it, but for whatever reason, they're going to choose not to allow the Switch 2 version of this to back up to the cloud.
It is important to note that the Breath of the Wild had the same disclaimer, but they took it off. So, and the Japanese version doesn't have this disclaimer. Right now, it's kind of up in the air if it's going to be hard or not. I think they're testing the waters right now. I think this is one of those things they put on there and they didn't think anybody would really read, and then it just kind of blew up on the internet because everybody loves their cloud saves, especially if they're paying for the service.
Especially since they don't allow you to take the game saves off on the SD card and back them up yourself, like on your computer from the SD card.
Oh no, that would lead to piracy.
That the only way you can have a backup is to pay your Nintendo Online service and to get a cloud backup.
We'll see what Nintendo figures out as far as that. I'm sure it's going to be a lot cleaner, but you got to think that these discs are already in production. The system's about to launch, right? I mean, having that disclaimer there is just, I mean, what are they going to do? Reprint 1,000 or, I don't know, 10,000 copies?
Yeah, so, I mean, but you're right. At this point, we live in a world where if they decide to change their mind, they can just push out an update. But you're right, the boxes got printed already. So if people are going the news of what the boxes are versus what could be reality in the future, they're not always the same. So, and considering they don't do it in every region, that just seems like a misstep. But we'll see.
All right, moving on to the next news item. One of my favorite games, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classic, is getting an update. The update includes offline versus mode, game reset from pause menu button settings, and new artwork and bonus tracks. It also features a select X-Men versus Street Fighter, which means you can select between Japanese, US versions, and new resolution.
Yeah, maybe like the Saturn home port too, where you get the extra character.
Yeah, hopefully, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the new resolution options in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes will allow you to do 2 times the resolution currently on the disc. And then if you have a PC, you can do 3 or 4 times the resolution. I kind of think the PlayStation 5 can do the 3 or 4. And I think the Series X can too. I don't know why those consoles are limited.
That'd be interesting. So the pixels don't necessarily improve in resolution, but the 3D backgrounds will be smoother.
Yeah. I mean, I'll always take a resolution upgrade over not getting one.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I like the choice for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And this is a collection that you and I were really surprised and excited that they even made, because like we've talked about this before, like Marvel vs. Capcom games, where are they? Why haven't, will we ever get to play these again?
This is my dream collection. I tweeted Capcom of USA and Capcom of Japan probably 12 times over the last, 7 years or so.
Oh, and I know I filled out plenty of multiple like Capcom surveys where they've asked you, what consoles do you own? What games do you play? What game would you like to see released? And I've definitely brought this up as well on many surveys that, the Marvel vs. Capcom games, definitely want them.
What I'm excited about is this getting updates, I mean, this might be the last update we see, but at least it's not being forgotten.
Oh, that's true. This game came out, in October?
But at least it's not being like released and kind of forgotten. It's getting that nice personal touch of adding nice quality of life features, things to it, which is nice because this is probably something the new collection's going to have. So they figure they'd add it to the first collection.
That's right. Like next month, I think we're getting the SNK Capcom collection, which I'm excited for as well, because not only does it come out with all the SNK and Capcom games, we're going to get the Power Stone games. That's right. Power Stone 1 and 2, and they haven't been released since the Dreamcast, which I have on the Dreamcast, and they're awesome, but I would love to just be able to play it on my current console without having to break that all out.
Yeah, Power Stone should look good because it's 3D.
Yeah, it'll definitely scale up well. Mm-hmm.
And what I'm looking forward to in the next collection is SNK vs. Capcom 2. Oh, man. During college, I spent like a long time playing that, and I got so good with every character. In that game, I got really good at Bison. Like, for some reason, that game, I could play like every character. I got really good at Bison, Nihonda, and Blanca. Like, the charged characters just worked really well in that game with the controls. That whole roster's great. Can't wait for that game. But the one that's already been released, the Marvel vs. Capcom collection, that's just really good games too. I mean, you got X vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and then you get the Punisher game, right? So you can't really go wrong. Oh, and Marvel Superheroes. Yeah, so can't really go wrong there. I'm surprised. Like, what's funny is, I already own the game, so when I go on the PlayStation Store, I see it's on sale, but I'm not sure how much it's on sale. Do you have any idea, or do you already own it?
I own it, but I have it on disc.
Yeah.
So it still recommends me the digital copy, even though I have.
I'm kind of glad they don't tell you the price after you own the digital copy, because you don't want to sit there and see something you bought go down and down and down. You're like, man, I should have waited on that. But I couldn't wait on that. Like I said, I've been waiting for those games for years, so just put my money where my mouth is. I bought it like the first day it came out and never looked back.
Yeah, when they announced the physical collection was going to be delayed by a couple months, I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait for that. And then Christmas rolled around and it became a really good time to get it.
Yeah. On the PlayStation 5, you know how you can toggle that button where to keep it on home, right? The game on home so it doesn't slide off. Well, we have so many people playing the PlayStation 5 around here and they're playing different games. I always keep like 2 to 3 games that don't fall off the list.
Oh, sure.
Like right now it's Final Fantasy 7, Rebirth, and then in Marvel vs. Capcom, and those are the 2 games I have that don't basically fall off. So I always keep this on my home bar because I just love it to death. I'm just so happy we have those games.
Oh, definitely. And I can understand that. For me, the only person who touches the PlayStation is me, so I haven't even thought about that feature, but sure enough, yeah, like I've seen your house, everyone like to play the games. So like the fact that you could just keep it locked on the home screen, make it easy for you the next time you go, is that nice little feature.
Yeah. Moving on to the next news item here. Marvel Rivals will soon be getting a swimsuit skins that fans have been asked for. The fans have asked for it, and now it's coming July 9th. I played Marvel Rivals. I thought it was a really good game. I thought it was great. It was competent. My problem with it is this is another live service game, and I just don't have room for it. And I'm not too big on the hero thing that much.
Isn't that the Smash Brothers type fighting game?
No, it's more like Overwatch.
Oh, okay. First person?
No, it's third person. Like Overwatch is a first person, but this plays just like Overwatch. Like in Overwatch, you have these vehicles that slowly go through the map and you got to control it. And if you get it to the finish line, you win the match. Like those type of matches and things, like they pretty much copied Overwatch on the type of matches that they have. But it's third person, so you do get to see the character. It's a competent game. I mean, it's got a huge player base. It's really popular right now. I just think it's interesting that the fans went so crazy for swimsuit skins.
I'm thinking of the multiverse game. That multiverse game that they're sunsetting is like a Smash Brothers.
Well, the multiverse game shot themselves in the foot. I mean, anytime you capture the zeitgeist, you don't mess with it. And they captured the zeitgeist the first time they came out. And then popularity started to wane a little bit. So they took it off and said that they're going to launch it later, which they did like a year later or something. And it just didn't capture the zeitgeist again. It just failed really hard. So I see why that game's being shut down. That was poorly managed. You know, it's one of those things where you get mad because, or not mad, but it's kind of frustrating because The developers and the artists and everybody did their job. It's just the suits at the top messed that game up, you know? Moving on to the next piece of news is the rising price of PlayStation Plus. On April 9th, Sony announced that it will be raising the price of the PlayStation Plus in 15 Latin American countries, 5 South Asian nations, South Korea, and Australia. On April 16th, some PS Plus subscribers in Canada reported getting emails from Sony announcing the price increase. Here's the price increase in Canada for each service.
And this is Canadian dollar, right?
Yes. So the essential plan, which is basically the bottom tier, is going from 95 to 110.
Remember when it was like 60?
Yeah, I remember when it was 50.
Yeah.
That right there is not too big of a jump. But what's really interesting is after that, they start to get huge jumps. So the extra is going for 12 months subscription is going from 155 to 190. And the premium is going from 190 to 225.
Yeah, that's Canadian dollars. So, but still, it's a big increase, and so I'm sure we'll end up with a similar increase. Well, when I read this, it's like, okay, I know my subscription gets renewed every like July. I need to figure out a way to tell it to lower its tier when renewing or not renew.
The only way you can do that is you have to put it off auto renewal.
Oh, good.
Whenever it basically comes off, you can select the lower tier. That's the only way to do it. They won't let you just renew.
Well, that's the way to do it. So I can just go in my settings and tell it don't auto renew.
Right.
Good. I'll do that.
There's an auto renew subscription option on the PlayStation 5.
My biggest fault is I wish I had the extra hard drive storage like you did to like explore a lot of these, but because I have the higher tier, I have access to streaming, which is kind of like the easy way to try a game without having to clear off hard drive space to see if it's worth it.
I'm a really unsatisfied customer with the PlayStation Plus, to be honest with you.
Well, at these prices, I understand at like $225 a year. I mean, at that point, like how much money am I even spending on games with this subscription like this? I feel like I could almost should be expecting to play GTA 6 day and date on this service. Well, I know that's not realistic, but let's be honest. When GTA 6 comes out, it doesn't matter what subscription I have. I'm probably not going to be playing that, but I'm going to be playing GTA.
Okay, so my problem with PlayStation Plus is I've really been thinking about this a lot lately, is that I don't have the premium tier. I have the extra, right? Because I do go back on games, but like, the games that they have on, like the PlayStation 3 games, I don't want to stream. The really old ones, like the PS1 games, I got better ways to play it, like on my Vita or something. Well, the games I like a lot. I did the math, and what I played off of the Essentials this year was like Crisis Core and maybe one other game that I beat. And I did the math, and it'd be so much better for me just to buy those games and own them.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that their releases on there have been pretty horrible. They did this run when they first came out, where every month we got a game. I was like, oh man, this is cool. This is a great service. The last 6-8 months, it's been really dry. I mean, there's only been like a couple games that I thought were really relevant to me. And on top of that, the major reason I have the essential package or the extra package is because of my kids. But the problem I have is that the same 19 games that they have for kids, they had like a year ago. So my kids have already burned through all these.
Yeah, they don't refresh the catalog or at least, add to it.
Exactly. And the other part about it is that a lot of these games that they have on the catalog are dirt cheap on the PlayStation Store. So for an example, like my daughter is sitting there playing all these Lego games, and I watch them go on sale for $5, and I'm asking myself, why am I sitting here paying all this money for this PlayStation subscription when I should just be buying the games that my daughter wants to play? So that's basically where I'm at on it. So this year, I'm not going to get the extra. I'm just going to get the essential package because we do play online and the cloud saves.
Yeah, and I have the premium, but I'm probably going to go down to the essential.
Yeah, I mean, that premium tier, they just have not, they've done better the last 6 months on the premium tier. It seems like what they're boosting up is the premium tier, not the extra tier. But what's sad is that's not making me want to go, hey, I want to get premium. That's making me feel like, oh, extra's just kind of forgotten. So I totally plan to drop extra. I know I said that before. I'm repeating myself.
Yeah, I just got to remember to go in and like the next couple months and tell it to stop auto renew.
My renew's in November, but I'm probably going to, after this podcast, I'll try and remind myself to do that. So what do you think about the price hike?
It's not great. These are Canadian dollars, but at the same time, whatever that is, it's still going to be an increase here. And as you pointed out, while the service is nice, it doesn't seem like the catalog is changing enough to warrant continued subscription. After a while, like my biggest problem is that I don't have a ton of storage to just try out a bunch of the games, which also kind of makes the premium subscription even a better deal for me. And that like pretty much everything they offer is a download. They also offer for me to stream. So if I want, I can stream pretty much any of these games. And I like the streaming part, but like I just, for $225, and I know this year, like games, well, I know GTA 6 is coming out at some point this year. And when that comes out, I don't care what subscription I have. I'm going to be playing GTA 6 for quite a bit, a chunk of the year, at least for a few months. But like the way I got into the premium is that like it was, how the way they advertise it after you have, say you have any of these tiers, they keep telling you, oh, hey, if you want to finish out the rest of the year, it's only like $10 right now, and you can get the X number of months or whatever remaining on your subscription at this tier. So as the year goes by, it always seems like, well, I could try the subscription instead of paying like the full year. I could only pay like for a couple months of it, and I only pay the difference. And so that's not so bad. But then the problem comes, and you forgot that you had on auto renewal, so that you tried out premium for a couple months. And the next thing you know, you have a full year of premium subscription, and that's your own fault.
Another thing about this is that I personally think the subscription services for games don't really work for me. I know they work for a lot of people. Basically, this is Canadian, not American, but if this was American, you could basically afford like a whole year of Game Pass, which is better than what the PlayStation has on their subscription for that $225. I know that the currency's different, but you're really approaching Game Pass prices at that point.
It seems like they're trying to get right into the Game Pass prices.
Yeah, but their offering is so much less.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. But they're definitely, with this aggressive in price, they're trying to get to the price without offering the same thing.
The reason why I think subscription services don't really work for people that play games is because we consume content different, It's not like I'm sitting there watching like 5 different shows on 5 different services, When I play a game, I usually play 1 or 2 games at a time, and I try and finish them. So that's why the subscription service doesn't really work for me, because I'm really paying, like, if I'm playing a game that's really long, it might take me over a month to beat it. So I'm really paying 2 months worth of subscription for when I could just buy the game for a little bit more, and own it.
And if you get tired of it and you really don't want it, you have something, if you have the physical copy, that you could sell. There's some value to it.
And another thing about the extra tier is I'm so tired of buying the Sony game that comes out. I'll spend money on it, and then, like a year later or 2 years later, it's on their service, right? And it's like, by the time it's on their service, I've already played it. I've already beaten it. It doesn't add any value to me. I'm sorry I went on a little rant there, but I'm really kind of I don't think PlayStation's pulling their weight when it comes to their subscription service right now. I just really don't. I think subscription services are great for the gamer that jumps around from game to game a lot. Like if you just want to like play games for like an hour or 2 and then jump to the next one, I think subscription services are great for you.
Yeah, or if you're jumping into a console and you don't already have like a history or a library of games, this is a good place to start, at least the first year or whatever. But after a while, you might end up with your own catalog of games, or just getting used to buying and playing games on it. You kind of have an idea of what you want.
And not to mention that if you look at the subscription for the extra tier, it's mostly PlayStation 4 games. It's barely any PlayStation 5 games. It's pretty sad.
Well, isn't it also all the streaming capabilities are on the premium?
I'm talking about the extra. But yeah, the premium, you can stream games.
No, the premium is streaming as well as extra games. And a lot of the PS3 games, too.
Now, streaming, okay, so yes, you get streaming, but you have to have a PlayStation console, I think, to stream.
I mean, that's what you're playing on, right?
Right, but what I would like to see the PlayStation do and this might be worth it for me to become a premium member, is on the Xbox, when you stream, you can stream from like your TV. Like there's just an app, right? You don't have to have the system at all. You can just
download the app on your TV.
Yeah, and just stream. Like I played Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch that way in my living room on the Xbox. Like I didn't even have an Xbox, and I played that on Game Pass. You know, I had Game Pass for the PC, and it also worked. Or I had Game Pass Ultimate, I think, at the time. So I could play on my PC, and when someone was using the PC, I would play on the TV, use a PlayStation controller, didn't have an Xbox controller. I was super happy. If PlayStation ever reached that point with streaming, you know, I still don't think it's worth $225 a year, but that is Canadian dollars, so I got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, so it's like $1. It's 150, right? Somewhere. It's really
right. They have such a long way to go with Game Pass because, you know, like I've really been looking at that subscription tier, and the games are barely changing, you know. And it's like when they first launched, they came out with games after games after games. I was like, wow, Sony's going to give Xbox a run for their money. But you know what? They've just been dry the last like 6 months, like I said, just barely anything worth anything.
Yeah. So I just did a little conversion math with the Canadian dollars. So that 225 Canadian is $162.94 American.
Yeah, see, that's just too much for extra tier, in my opinion.
Yeah, like you said, the catalog they don't refresh it frequently enough. And while it was great at first for your daughter to explore a bunch of games that you're necessarily not going to go run out and buy, after a year of subscribing to it, it hasn't really changed that library. Not frequently enough.
And the other thing is that they don't really do much day in, day out. Like they've done some day one, you know, PlayStation extra tier games, but they don't do it like Xbox where like all their first parties day and date. So the interesting thing is that you're paying for the subscription service, but by the time a game gets on the subscription service, it's already like marked down pretty heavily
Discounted and seen on sale. Yeah,
exactly. And if you have the first tier, it's really discounted because you got the PlayStation Plus sale. So
yeah, they have so far. All the discounts for having a PlayStation Plus account is not attached to what tier you have. It's just that you have one.
Yeah, that'll be sad if they take that away from the Essentials tier. That'll be sad.
Yeah, you get more for extra or premium. Yeah. Off.
Okay, the next news item is Bethesda selling 2,000 pieces of the Elder Scrolls Online servers. Elder Scrolls Online launched in April 2014. Part of the 10-year anniversary, Bethesda announced that the Elder Scrolls Online 10-year anniversary server keepsake. This item consists of a decorative frame plaque with a stick of RAM removed from one of the ESO's original servers. Bethesda will sell this to you at actual physical price of the Elder Scrolls Online history for $110, where you can pre-order it starting today. The actual plaque of RAM won't be delivered until July 2025. I'm thinking late July. I think this is pretty cool because I used to be a really big Bethesda person, and lately their games have just kind of fallen off. Starfield left me with a bad taste. I'm hoping this Oblivion remake is really great. That keeps leaking out. But, you know, I did play this game at launch. It wasn't really what I was looking for. It was nowhere close to as polished as like World of Warcraft or something like that, online RPG. But I think it's really cool that they're doing this for the fans. That, you know, imagine if you did play it for the last 10 years, getting this would be pretty good. It's just a kind of like a token of, hey, you know, this is something I love. This is something that I spent a lot of time on. I thought this was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's neat for fans of the game. That seems really nice.
Yeah, Bethesda always does those extra touches like that with their games.
Well, good.
Moving to our 5-year Beyond segment. This week we're talking about Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, both over 5 years old. 2014 kart racing game published by Nintendo for the Wii U. It was released on the Nintendo Switch in April 2017 as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart 8 is one of the best-selling video games of all time at over 75.81 million sold for both versions combined. The original version is also the best-selling Wii U game at 8.46 million sold, and Deluxe, the best-selling Nintendo Switch game, at 67.35 million. I had no idea that it sold 67 million copies on the Switch. I thought it was more like around 30 million.
Yeah, and at 8 million that on the Wii U, that's almost a 1-to-1 ratio for every Wii U sold.
I know, right? Yeah, well, I mean, even if you just take the Switch, right? It just hit like 150 million units. You're almost saying like half the Switch audience has Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So it's a great game. Playing it this week made me really realize how Nintendo got away with having the Switch so long, 8 years, before the Switch 2.
Yeah, and I had this originally on the Wii U when it came out, and I played it with my friends, and then I double dipped and bought it again, the deluxe version for the Switch. So yeah, this game's been around for a while, and it's a great version. Been lots of DLC, and it was a lot of fun this week playing it as well.
I didn't play the Wii U very much. How does the graphics stand out between the Wii U and the Switch to you?
Nearly identical. The difference is one plays in 720p and the other one plays in 1080.
Okay.
But visually identical, like pretty much. There's no real big jump at all in graphics. It's just, here it is again, except with more DLC.
Right on. The DLC support's been phenomenal for it. Even without the Nintendo Online subscription, there was still DLC for, characters, different vehicles to unlock and things like that. I remember still unlocking things like long into it.
Yeah, this game is similar to like how they've been treating like the Smash Brothers game on the Switch, like the Smash Brothers Ultimate or whatever, that has like every character ever and then some. So like with this, when they went to do DLC with tracks, it's like if you got all the DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it has nearly every track that's ever been in any of the previous Mario Kart redone for Mario Kart 8, but available. So there's so many different circuits. It's like the ultimate like history of all the Mario Kart tracks.
It is. It's such a polished game. I mean, it is so polished. When I look at Nintendo graphics, in that really cartoony style, to me, it doesn't seem like it takes much hardware to run that, right? But it's so polished. It looks so beautiful. I mean, you don't even care that it may not be that, it's not 4K or anything, but it looks so good. It plays so smooth. I can't wait to see Mario Kart in 120 frames on the Switch 2 on Mario Kart World, but this game is just so incredible. I mean, we do family Mario Kart nights and everybody has fun. Everybody enjoys it. My wife even enjoys it. I play around with tons of characters that I like to play with, but I was looking at the character list. There's 41 characters. I still don't think I've tried all the characters, and I played the hell out of this game.
Oh, I definitely have my favorite character. These days, I like playing as Rosalina.
Yeah, my daughter likes to play as Rosalina because she thinks she looks like her. One of my daughters likes to play as Princess Peach, so there's always a fight over who's going to be those two.
Yeah, and for me previously, I just pretty much exclusively played Toad, but yeah, I've switched over to Rosalina.
I used to play Toad, Baby Mario, things like that, or I play Mario, but or towards the end of the Switch, or I should really say the last 3 years, I've been playing big characters, like Bowser and stuff like that. I got real good at knocking people basically off the course and stuff like that. It's a different way to play, but it's real fun.
So you like playing the bigger characters that can knock people around more?
Yeah, because it changes it up a lot,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I love to play as Link. Like when you get Link on that motorcycle, the Hyrulean motorcycle and the Hyrulean, cape or parachute that comes up, it looks so sick. That is such a good design. But yeah, I quit playing all those characters, mostly play big characters like Donkey Kong and Bowser and, the Metal Mario and stuff like that. So, I just try and play the stuff that my kids don't play. And I still don't think I've played every character, which is crazy. The courses are amazing, and they also mirror them.
And I'm a big fan of the motorcycles as well. Like that's the huge. That ever since they've added those in the series, I enjoy playing.
Yeah. So for the courses, you got the Mushroom Cup, the Flower Cup, the Star Cup, the Special Cup, the Shell Cup, the Banana Cup, the Leaf Cup, Lightning Cup, the Egg Cup, Triforce Cup, Crossing Cup,
and the Tinkerbell Cup,
and the Bell Cup. Yeah. That is so many courses. Each one of those has 4 courses. And then on top of that, you can mirror them. And you can play at multiple CCs. I mean, it's literally like infinite Mario Kart.
Well, yeah, they offered 200 CCs, which is crazy. And then on top of that, all those cups you named, there's double that many more on the DLC.
Right. You can tell why this game has been so popular for so long because it is just loaded. I mean, when you talk about bang for your buck, I mean, Mario Kart 8 is like the definition of bang for your buck.
Yeah, so with all the talk of Mario Kart World, it has gotten me to go back and revisit Mario Kart 8 because while it is the current one, it's also been around for more than 8 years, and it's just been fun. When I looked at my game save on my Switch, like I have like the 120cc's, I have the gold cup on all of them, but the Tinkerbell cup, and I have the silver on that. And I tried all week playing it, and I couldn't do better so far. So I wasn't able to get the gold trophy on the Tinkerbell Cup so far. But I'm still, it's one of those situations where, the first round you're kind of making your way through up to the front, and the second lap you're getting up there in the front, and then on the third lap you get up into the front, you're leading it, and then like the last 20 feet, like you get hit with a blue shell and a red shell and another thing, and the next thing you know, you're turning in at 6th place.
Yeah.
You're like, dang it! It happens too frequently for me on that track.
I understand what you're saying, and one of my arguments with Mario Kart is, or not arguments, but one of the things that I wish would kind of change is like if you're in the back of the pack, you're going to get things like the bullet, lightning, blue shell, things like that. If you're in the front, you're just going to get like maybe a mushroom, most of the time bananas, so it's like really kind of imbalanced, but it kind of makes it fair because there's this catch-up mechanic, I guess. Like if you want to get first in a race, a lot of times, especially online, it's almost like you want to stay a second or third place with a couple mushrooms, and then like right at the end, burst them so you don't get hit by the blue shell and all that,
Oh, another thing you definitely want to do is say you are like 3rd or 4th place. You don't want to keep attacking the people in front of you so that the person in first just keeps continuing to build out a bigger and bigger and bigger lead. So you want to like be real careful not to like give first place. Like if you're knocking down second over and over and over trying to get in front of them, it can just make the first place have this untouchable lead.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to talk about this game is the accessibility feature, right? I have a special needs daughter. The steering assist on this game, when she was younger, just made the biggest difference. It turned this game from something that she just would hate to something she just loved. Now she doesn't use it, but back when we first got it.
Oh yeah, this game's 8 years old, and you got it like 8 years ago, and your kids 8 years ago playing games was not where they are anywhere today. So any assist feature like that was huge.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. That's a neat feature. I think it's a good way to get that's how we got my wife into it, and you could get grandma into it that way. Maybe, I don't know, but
but yeah, it's definitely a good way to get people into it where they don't feel like they have to compete at such a high level. Like for you and I, even though we played it a lot, like for someone who hasn't ever picked it up, be able to play in that accessibility mode and feel like they're competing and contributing to the game is good. Definitely.
It's such a charming game, and when you win, it's nice, but even if you don't win, if you place even up to 5th, you still you see all those people behind you or below you on the scoreboard. It makes you feel good. And the reason why I bring that up is because, like when we play, everybody feels good that they're not last place, right? Everybody feels good that they're not 8th, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a charming game and it makes you feel good. It gives you that special like cheer feeling that Nintendo can only do,
Yeah, which is also interesting because you said you're not 8th, and with this new game coming out, there's going to be 24 players. So you're going to feel real good not to be 24.
Right. You'll feel good to be in the top 12 with 24 people.
Yeah.
Imagine all those blue shells.
Yeah, you'll be 8 and still be all right. Yeah. And you're not wrong about that, about wanting to hang back just to get like better power-ups, because if you're in first place, they're going to give you a coin and maybe if you're lucky, a banana. But if you're like 3rd place or 4th, like they're going to give you almost everything. And of course, if you're in the back, they're going to give you all the all the lightning. They're going to give you they're going to be the bullet bill and all kinds of stuff. But even then, that's sometimes just hard to come back in that 3rd lap from the very back to the front.
It can be done, but yeah, for one lap, it's real hard to come back, but if you start off in the back and you're smart and you save your power-ups, unless you get lightning and you lose them all, they can be pretty dangerous. You get up to 4 and hit that bullet. Yeah, buddy.
Mm-hmm. And I went over to a friend's house just a few weeks ago. I may have mentioned this before, where they had Mario Kart and I was playing, and this is before this week. I wasn't, it's like, oh, you guys haven't played 120cc. That's where all the action is. So I put it up and I started playing, and I got like 4th place. And my friend's daughter goes, you must be rusty at this game. And I was like, yeah, I'm a little rusty. Sorry. I couldn't get a cup for you, but we got a couple unlocks. So that was good. But yeah.
If you don't play Mario Kart, you definitely lose your skill, right? Like,
that's what I noticed. After that, I went home. Next time they come to visit, I want to boot up Mario Kart and just show her, look at all these gold cups I have. Like, I know.
Trying to prove to a 12-year-old you did it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good to have those trophies. Too bad there's really not a trophy system to go with it, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't pull up my phone and go, look, I got the trophy for this.
One of the things I like about this game is I really like the mirror, because it really does turn a track into almost like a new track.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing they've been doing with a lot of them. But the mirrors is just like so much replayability, especially after you've gotten so familiar. If you've gone through the different CCs up to mirror, it's a nice twist. And then the 200 CCs, that's just another level. Like you're gonna almost generate new shortcuts in some ways, and then at the same time, just like making these turns could be an even bigger challenge.
See, I have to know the course to play 200 CCs.
Well, if you played like I had, kind of worked your way up, by the time you get to 200, none of these tracks are old. Are new. They're all, very familiar.
Right. We don't play at 200 CCs very much because this is too hard for people in the family, some people.
Yeah, like you said, you were using assist earlier. So, but even then, like 200 CCs is almost novel and stuff, but 120 just seems like the solid spot, and then mirror is fun.
Yeah, it's such a good game.
I definitely plan on keep continuing to play it the next few weeks leading up to like the launch of the Switch 2, since I don't still plan on buying it at day one. With all this news of a new Mario Kart after beyond 8 years, I'm looking forward to it, and I know I will play it. And I even like going back and playing Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. It's very close to 8 in all the mechanics and features and stuff that they added. And it's also different courses or whatever, but it's just more Mario Kart.
My go-to is Double Dash. If I go backwards, it's Double Dash.
Double Dash is like one of my favorites. Well, just dropping down to 7 was good, but like Mario Kart, yeah, Double Dash. One Mario Kart I didn't get a lot of experience with was just the Mario Kart Wii.
You know what? I had a Wii, and I didn't buy that many games for it, but I bought Mario Kart, and we tried using the steering wheel. It's fun, but it gets tiresome really quick. That's all I have to say about that. Motion controllers are great until you want to play for like 3 hours,
Yeah, but you can use a regular controller.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying what my feelings are on motion controls. All right, you got any other thoughts on Mario Kart 8?
Not too much, except it seems like it's like the ultimate edition of Mario Kart to date until, of course, the new one comes out, where it has like a huge library of previous courses that just make it fun that way. See,
if I was Nintendo, what I would have done is turn Mario Kart into like a live service game, where there's like, I don't know, like a battle pass, you get different kind of cards, different kind of cosmetics.
Honestly, it looks like it's acting that way. Like there's daily challenges and stuff that they want you to go around and explore the world, so they're going to throw out different things for you. So yeah, the Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U came out in May of 2014. So it's been quite a while since there's been a new one.
Yes.
And I was one of those people that picked it up around May in 2014.
Okay, I'll put it, I'm of two minds, right? My first one is, when you play this, going back and playing Mario Kart 8 again, I really don't think you need another Mario Kart. I think that's why it's lasted so long.
I think it's kind of trained us that way. Like, we've had this Mario Kart since 2014. At this point, and there's been so much DLC. Since they haven't innovated in this game, in this franchise, in so long, that it feels stuck, which is fine. And they are innovating in this new one. But just the fact that, like, the satisfaction of just playing 8 is such strong.
Yeah, it is so content rich, like we were talking about earlier, as far as the courses and everything. It's just, I don't know. That's my first thought. But then my second thought is, it'd be really nice to see something new, especially the open world. Like if I was Nintendo, I would have kept every course in this, and what I would have done is put them in the open world, and like I would have gave you the option to play them through the menus, or you could go to the open world and actually drive up to the course and play it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would be shocked if we don't end up getting more expansion content to this Mario Kart world that could include like previous courses in whatever interesting way of doing it. Considering it's been so long for just having the 8, that I really think that they're going to continue to add to this Mario Kart world, and it's probably going to be the Mario Kart for the entire life cycle of the Switch 2. You know, I don't see a successor showing up during the Switch 2 of Mario Kart World.
It might last 2 systems.
Yeah, if it's anything like 8, it could be.
I mean, I could see Mario Kart World like really getting add-ons and everything. That's why it really doesn't bug me that game's $80 because for the Switch, I know with the bundle you could get it for like basically $50, but I don't know. I could see it really being worth it. You know, the amount of content and everything, and just how charming the game is.
And they act like it's going to be similar to like a live service game. Like I said, they're going to have daily challenges and weekly challenges, and all these different things unlock different costumes and outfits for these characters that then you could then play in the rest of the game. So it seems I could definitely see them continuing to try to add stuff to it over time, and just instead of coming out with another one.
Yeah, this might be the last Mario we get. It might just turn into a live service game, you know, that just goes on forever. Kind of like Fortnite.
Yeah, the only closer Mario Kart we got was that Mario Kart Live, which you have, which uses those augmented reality and the cameras and the remote controls.
Yeah, we enjoy that a lot, but to be honest with you, you get this big box that comes with all these cardboard things, and nobody really likes to set up races. We just like to run around in the car and to chase the dogs with it and stuff like that. Go underneath the tables and everything. Go and just see your house from a different perspective. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, a remote control, you know, in your Switch, all around with a camera. You can kind of spy on your sister.
Yeah, we still break that out every now and then. It's kind of gotten cold as of late, but the first 6 months we had it, boy, they played it a lot. The first 3 months for real, it was like kept running out of battery. I was like, man, charges this thing again.
And you even have the Luigi. You have Mario and Luigi right now?
I got Mario. Okay, so I bought the Luigi set, and then I got Mario, just the cart, for like $24 off of eBay. So that's how I did it. Get both.
Yeah, and you found the first one off of a garage sale, which is perfect.
Yeah, so for like $75, I got $200 worth of Mario. It's not a bad deal. You know, we play with it. They both work fine. You know, even if you're setting up the race, even if you have 8 of those, like it comes with 4 of those archways that are made out of cardboard, right?
They're like checkpoints, right?
Yeah, they're like checkpoints in the finish line, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one is the start, the fourth one's the finish, and you know. But even if you have 8 of them, it doesn't allow you to set up 8. So, I mean, it's kind of weird that way. That's a really unique experience, and that's what I think Nintendo's at its best, when they're doing innovative things like that, right? Some people are saying that the Switch 2 is too safe, but I think the Switch 2 is kind of what everybody wanted. We didn't really want any gimmicks or anything, but some people are saying Nintendo's kind of losing itself, you know, but we'll see. That remains to be seen.
Yeah, but the fun thing is just going back and playing it like this last week or so, it's that, you know, the game holds up, obviously, and I think it will continue to hold up because it's Mario Kart. But it still looks, you know, the deluxe version, it's just so polished. And it was polished on the Wii U, but like, again, the difference was 720p to 1080p. It's fun. Yeah, I'm sure when I end up with a Switch 2, that's definitely going to be one of the games I'm going to want to have early on in its life cycle. I'm going to be playing it. But for now, I'm just so satisfied going back and playing more Mario Kart 8 as I have since 2014.
Right. I think Mario Kart 8 is so good. I'm trying to avoid playing it too much before the Switch 2, because if I choose to bite the bullet on one, I want to be Mario Kart fresh.
Yeah, you don't want to be burned out, because it's definitely...
But it's such a good game. I mean, you could play that game every day and be happy, you know? So it's almost like a detriment, right? Them adding all these quests and everything, because, you know, people got to understand. Nintendo needs to understand that we need time to play all their other games, you know? So what are you up to this week, Brian?
Oh, well, this week it'll be kind of back normal around the house. Again, now I plan on digging back into Resident Evil 4, especially the remake. I'm going to, like I said, want to play the initial part of the new game plus a little bit, and then go back into remake. And then as soon as I finish Resident Evil 4 remake, I have Silent Hill 2 remake to jump into. I'm looking forward to. I also, last week, I published a few articles on my website, Nostalgic Pixel, about the movies, as well as like my enjoyment of arcade controllers, like arcade sticks. But I'm planning on writing up a couple more things for that this week.
All right. I'm glad to see you keeping that up. This week, I'm going to finish Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, finally. Get that off my backlog. I'm going to play some more Frostpunk. I'm kind of eyeing what my next game is going to be to get off my backlog. Still not sure what that is yet. It may even be that I purchase a game that I don't own, get off my backlog of things that I need to play. We'll see. Yeah, so right now I'm kind of up in the air on what I'm going to be playing this week after Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think I don't want to do another RPG right now. I'm kind of feeling like an action game or something, so we'll see what comes up.
Yeah, you should look into possibly some arcade game, arcade style game.
To be honest, I might just play more Marvel vs. Capcom this week. I'll be fully happy with that after the update comes out.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Where can people find you online, Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Yeah, they can find me online, Nostalgic Pixel, on X, on Blue Sky, on Instagram, on YouTube, on nostalgicpixel.com, and on Twitch at Nostalgic Pixel TV.
Excellent. You can find me at Bryan Bryan on X. You can follow the Legendary Backlog on Instagram, X.
And the handle for that is just the Legendary Backlog?
The Legendary Backlog.
Something else.
Today when I signed up for the account originally, they wouldn't let me get the display name. They wouldn't let me get the display name of Legendary Backlog. I finally got that taken care of today, so now X is Legendary Backlog, so that's good. And then if you like the show, please check out our Patreon. It's the Legendary Backlog on Patreon. We're just trying to build a community of gamers. You can get access to all our sites there and the podcasts and everything. See all the episodes of the post.
Yeah, we're going to post all our links there for this stuff. Absolutely want to follow Patreon, and currently, it's all free. But yeah, hop in and be part of the community. Feel free to ask us questions or anything like that.
If you like what you heard, please leave a 5-star review on your podcast app of choice. They help us out, help us with the algorithm, help people find us. All right, guys. Well, we thank you for listening to the Legendary Backlog. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next time.
See you next time.